Hi Stephen, afternoon, how are you?
How you doing? How are you, Will?
Stephen, we got your initial reaction to the group, and obviously we know your aim is to win the group. Can you tell me how far you think, for the level is the team is at now, how far they need to improve to make that ambition, I suppose, realistic?
Yeah, listen, we're certainly excited by the group. It's a tough group. You know, we know it's a tough group. The Ukraine have got to the quarterfinals of the European Championships. Scotland have been in the Euros, and they've obviously been going very well of late. Armenia finished, ahead of Iceland in the group. So it's a tough group. But the plus side of that is that all the teams will take points off each other. And I think it's a very competitive group. So we just got to really focus on ourselves. And we're third seeds, or we'd be third favourites to win the group. But yeah, our ambition is to win the group, or at least to try and qualify to get a playoff place for the European Championships, because that's the ultimate goal, to qualify for the European Championships in Germany. First place in the Nations League gets you a playoff. Second, I'm informed, second is most likely to get you a playoff. So it's, we certainly want to give ourselves every opportunity of doing that.
Great stuff. Can I just ask you as well, is there any update on your contract situation?
No, there's no update at the moment.
Thank you.
End the call, please.
Hi, Stephen. So, Stephen, in the last couple of weeks and this weekend as well, there's been a lot of Premier League games being called off due to the COVID situation in the UK. I know it's a couple of months off yet, but is that a worrying sign for these Nations League fixtures, given the impact that it had on the Irish squad last time round?
It seems to be, it changes quite frequently. Obviously, we've seen an escalation in recent weeks, and speculation about a lot of games being cancelled and so forth. So it's difficult to predict or difficult to comment on, because March, the two friendlies in March, of course, we have two home games that are imminent, and then we've got the games in June, which is still another, still another 6 months away. The games in June, so ample time to change again, hopefully in a good way. We've gone from playing in empty stadiums, and I remember a Nations League game against Wales, waking up that morning or getting a call actually at 1 o'clock in the morning to say, 5 of the starting 11 are ruled out because we'd one player who failed the test and the other 4 were close contacts. So we actually had to change 5 of the starting 11 on the morning of a match for the 2 o'clock kickoff against Wales. So those are the challenges that we faced. That point we got against Wales kept us up. It means we're in Group B now. It gives us a chance to try and win Group B instead of being in Group C, somewhere that Bulgaria got relegated. And so we're certainly... we cannot predict what will happen. The concern is that a lot of players who are double vaccinated are being ruled out again. That's the concern, because we didn't probably anticipate that. We did have that ourselves in a previous case where the player who was double vaccinated still got COVID and got ruled out. But that seems to be more of the... So that is a different element that we didn't predict so much before. That seems to be causing further problems.
Do you think the squad's in better shape, that we'd be able to cope with it a little bit better than we did last time, should something like that happen?
Yeah, I do think we've built a squad, and apart from being able to cope with losing players and so forth, I think we're able to cope with the demands of a 4-game window, because that's new for the players. Like even the 3-game window, when we that time, say, which was the previous year, when we Slovakia beat us in penalties, and we had to play Wales and we lost the players, and then we lost a couple more players and we had to go to Finland. So it was 2 away trips, one to Slovakia, back to Wales, then back out on the plane out to Finland. That was the first time players ever experienced having sort of 2 away trips in one camp. Now we sort of 4 matches into 10 days, and you've got to go to Armenia, you've got to go to Ukraine. So the demands are high, and that's why we've been building the squad. Like we have 2 players that can play right wing back, 2 players that can play left wing back, 5 centre backs, 4 midfield players. So we've been building a squad that we're going to need we couldn't have we don't have one just set 11 now going forward for these 4 games. Like, we're building the squad that we're going to need those players for the 4 games, and there will be an element of rotation and so forth in that, and so will the other teams. The other teams will have to do that as well. So it's the same for everyone. I think we're the only probably team that has, well, ourselves and Armenia, that has those sort of double trips. The other teams haven't got them. They seem to have the top seeds. They seem to be favourable towards the top teams in relation to the Ukraine are playing Scotland and Ireland on the one trip, and Scotland have 2 home games to start. So we've been given a tough schedule of matches, the way it turned out, but nevertheless it shouldn't make us any less determined to get positive results, and we've had positive results of late, with Cristiano Ronaldo's late goal, of course, being our only defeat in the last 10, and we're getting better. I think we're improving, and we still need to continue improving. Hopefully the games in March, the 2 games, gives us a chance to improve again, and I'm bringing it to the games in June.
Ed Leahy, please. Ed Leahy.
Stephen, how are you doing?
How you doing?
Stephen, obviously you were talked about yesterday about being 3rd seed in the group and all that sort of stuff, but like Serbia were 3rd seeds as well, and they're probably the strongest team in that in League B. So just in terms of the group, who do you think, and based on recent form and performances, who do you think are the strongest team in the group? Is it Ireland?
I think most neutrals wouldn't suggest that we are the strongest group. They would say Ukraine, having got to the European Championship quarter-finals, would be the favourites and the top seeds, and having, like, it's a good achievement to get to quarter-finals of the Euros. Scotland, of course, a lot of players playing regularly with some of the top Premier League clubs, so they're a strong side. From our point of view, though, we can't concern ourselves with any of that. We just look to get better ourselves collectively. It's a collective team that we have to try to build, and we are evolving as a squad, and there's a good connection you feel now between like when Jason Knight came on and got his few assists in the previous game against Luxembourg, it's now his 10th cap, so the value of that, we'll see the value of that over the next year, like that players are getting caps under the belt and more experience, and the great connection between the experienced players and the young players. We're seeing that more now. I feel we're a real team now, starting to evolve as a team, and we will need everyone, because it is a real test and run of games, that 4 in 10 days with the 2 trips in the middle of that. That is a real challenge, and that's why the reason I spoke about winning it as well is because about having the ambition to win that, because that's important, but also because traditionally players at this time of year, not just Ireland, but other clubs, other countries, would find it difficult to get sometimes released with pressure from clubs, with players having to get tidy up operations and maybe injections and injuries to try and get players released at this time of year, for not for the European Championship or a World Cup, but for maybe an international window. But we need everyone. We can't have anyone pulling out in June. There will be, so we need all our players. We can't afford any player pulling out in June. We need everyone, and that's why it's very important, because this tournament is important to us, because getting the European Championships in Germany is everything to us, and we have to be geared up for that, and we can't lose one player in June. We need everyone, and that's what we need.
So just in terms of the players then, a lot of your key players, well, not necessarily a lot of your key players, but several players in the squad who would be prominent in your thoughts are not getting ample club football really at the moment. Have you a message for those players going into the January window and looking towards these competitive games, especially the June games?
Yeah, I can't give one generic message to all my players. Like, I think everyone's individual situation is different, and it's like clubs control their destiny sometimes at times, and I prefer if players are playing regularly and some players aren't, and it's difficult, and that's not ideal for us at all. We know that, and but we need players to play as regularly as possible, and that's what we desire.
Okay, Paul. No, it's Ed. We'll have to move into just Paul Fennessy there, just with one question at the end. Okay.
And the team's improvements in recent months has coincided with the sort of the return of fans. Do you think that's a coincidence, or is it kind of genuinely significant as far as the Irish team are concerned.
Yeah, I think the Irish support has been, it's been really special to have even the 25,000 at the start with only half capacity. Initially Azerbaijan, and then great support again for the friendly against Qatar to sell out like that. It was a great night. Obviously scoring the 4 goals, but Portugal getting a full house for Portugal, and obviously Portugal are high in demand, but nobody could get tickets. But you do feel that there's a great that the Irish support are really identifying with this team, with the players, with the style of play, the connection between themselves and the players. I think they're enjoying. We want the support to enjoy. We want Irish supporters to come and enjoy watching the team play and look forward to it and be intrigued by it. And we know we're not perfect. We know we have a we have a bit of a journey still to continue to get better. And but we can see it with our own eyes. The team developing, getting better, improving, and we want to improve again. And yeah, definitely the Irish. I think particularly the match that stood out for me and that we've had the support having such an influence was the Serbian home game, where Serbia, a terrific team, and we were they were creating chances against us. We were playing really good football, but they were creating more chances. Gavin kept us in it with a few saves, and they willed the team on. Pushed the players on. We got an equaliser, and in fact nearly got a winner. But it's so that match I felt was one where I felt the Irish support really illustrated to me the importance of it, and away from home as well. People in Luxembourg and people travelled to Azerbaijan, which was amazing.